Welcome, everyone. How nice to see our circle refilling, I will say. It's great. Thank you for sharing your Sunday evening with us, this portion of it. Isn't it nice to have light? Even if there's no sunshine, it's still nice to have light. Before I add my welcome, add my announcements, I'm going to ask Andy if he would come up and share some announcements, but I do want to welcome everyone, especially Dan and Kristen. We'll be hearing from Dan later, and I see some new faces. I see some faces that we haven't seen for a while, so welcome, and to our Zoomers. We're Zooming tonight, so our circle is full to overflowing. Andy.
Welcome to Star, and thank you for being with us this evening as we hear about Hatcher Garden and about the garden as a spiritual icon. Beginning Thursday, March 13th, and continuing through 6 weeks of Lent, each Thursday evening from 5 to 6:30, Star will offer silent prayers for peace in this room. Please come and pray as long as you're able, an hour, a half an hour, a few minutes. It's something that you can do to counter the cruelty, lies, greed, and fear driving events in Ukraine, Gaza, and other spots of injustice and violence in our world today. If you come, please also pray for Lenten peace, love, and transformation within yourself. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. In case you forget, in your service sheet there is a bright card. Some are pink, some are yellow, some are orange, some are blue, some are green. If you would take these, maybe put them on your refrigerator, but even better, would you take this and give it to a friend or post it somewhere where folks can see it? We're going to try this and see how this works. In the past, when we have done prayer vigils, it's worked very well. And as Andy has said, at this particular time in our world, in our lives, there is much uncertainty and there is much chaos. So helping to lift these challenges and send them out into the world, give them away. We will begin this coming Thursday evening. And as Andy said, stay for an hour and a half hour, 15 minutes. But just come and be, and you will sit in the circle. We'll explain as you come through the door. Many of you have done this with us before. I did this for an entire year at the Advent. Gail McCormick helped me often, and we met from 7:30 to 9 every Wednesday morning. But as we get older, it's a lot tougher to get up early in the morning. So we're going to try this between 5 and 6:30, and if people are hanging around at 6:30 and you'd like to go out and grab a bite, a sandwich, we could probably get a group together to do that. So just consider that. But the main thing is bring your prayers and share them. This evening, you have another card in your service sheet. It is a prayer card. We will be offering our prayers in the world, and that's later in the service. But if you all would just be thinking about that, we will write our prayers and eventually put them in the bowl in the middle of the altar. This is our prayer catcher. So more later. On that note, Al is going to play a little for us. We're going to have some quiet time, and then our service will begin.
When I saw that the theme of this evening was the garden, I couldn't help myself, because my number one favorite song, the one that I want at my funeral, is all about a garden. You may or may not know Bernstein's Candide. I saw it first at the Brevard Music Center, and this song, which is scaled down for me to sing a little bit, is the theme at the end. After Candide and his lady love have made all kind of mistakes, gone out in the world, suffered all the abuses of the world, they realize there are more things important than those. You've been a fool, and so have I, but come and be my wife, and let us try before we die to make some sense of life. We're neither pure, nor wise, nor good, We'll do the best we know. We'll build our house and chop our wood and make our garden grow. And make our garden grow. We thought the world was sugar cake, for so our master said. But now we'll teach our hands to bake our loaf of daily bread. We're neither pure nor wise nor good. We'll do the best we know. We'll build our house and chop our wood and make our garden grow. And make our garden grow. Let dreamers dream what worlds they please. Those Edens can't be found. The sweetest flowers, the fairest trees are grown in solid ground. We're neither pure nor wise nor good. We'll do the best we know. We'll build our house and chop our wood and make our garden grow. And make our garden grow.
He is amazing, isn't he? Thank you, Jinx. Thank you for doing the garden song. We appreciate it. Our call to prayer: those whose minds are not quiet cannot pray. Together, let us listen for the heartbeat of God. We'll have a few moments of silence, and then we will say the gathering prayer together. Joining our voices in prayer, let us pray together the Lord's Prayer taken directly from the Aramaic translation. All together. O birther, Father, Mother of the cosmos, you create all that moves in light. Your name, your sound can move us if we tune our hearts as instruments for its tone. Desire with and through us the rule of universal fruitfulness unto the earth. Your desire then acts with ours, as in all light, so in all forms. Grant what we need each day in bread and insight, subsistence for the call of growing life. Loose the cords of mistakes, binding us as we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. To you belongs each fertile function, ideals, energy, glorious harmony during every cosmic cycle. Amen.
Okay, everybody will join in, please. I'll give you a little intro. the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the beauty of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Donna is going to share holy words with us, and then we will have, and she will also introduce Dan.
Thank you. These are the holy words from Hildegard of Bingen. Holy persons draw to themselves all that is earthly. The earth is at the same time mother. She is mother of all that is natural, mother of all that is human. She is the mother of all, for contained in her are the seeds of all. Thank you. I have great pleasure to introduce Stan. It all happened in a garden, and I want to tell you about the very first time that I came to Hatcher Garden. I was invited to a wedding, and it was the most beautiful wedding I'd ever been to. It was wonderful. It was like a fairy tale. The next time I came to the garden, I brought my sister and my nephew and one of his friends, and we were walking down one of the winding paths, and all of a sudden we heard this noise, and it sounded like it was coming closer. And all of a sudden we looked up, and the most beautiful owl I have ever seen flew right over our heads. It was magical. So all kinds of things happen in the garden, Hatcher Garden, and if you've never visited, please go. And when you arrive, you may see Dan and his sidekick, Major, working, teaching, welcoming everybody. And we welcome Dan tonight to tell us more about the garden. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, and we are having refreshments. If you would hold off questions for after Dan speaks, and then you can talk with him later. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I am learning about this group as I sit here. Did not know this group existed. And when I got invited, I went on a mindful terror because I was not sure what I was going to talk about. And so I was sitting here, I've already changed. I asked the question, do you want me to give the 10-minute speech or the 2 hour and 75 minutes? 10 minutes was fine, so I'm going to start, but I've already changed it because I want to, just in the energy that I feel. And this is why I'm in charge of Hatcher Gardens, because I listen to what happens that most people do not see, and this is an example. We have a rock in the garden. It's up in the new children's garden. It was laying flat on the ground. I bought it 9 years ago, and it's an interesting rock, and it just sat. The straps and the pallet underneath it disintegrated, and so we moved it to another location to kind of get it out of the way. And then one of the young, I say young, he's younger than I am, but our project manager, Michael Hirsch, I said, well, we're going to put this rock here, because at Hatcher, the way I do things is if something lands and it lands a certain way, I have to stop and pause. Is that what the garden's telling me it needs to be? And so this rock's laying there. I said, well, we're going to just leave it there and we'll build the path around it. And it's not a huge rock. I just felt like that's where it needed to be. The reason I'm mentioning this is because when I was in my absence, I'm not the only gifted person in the garden. Mike decided with some volunteers to stand that rock up. Now that rock, when you stand up, if you come, and you need to come see this rock because it's very unique, I bought it as junk for $90. Wow. And it is a piece of art like you would not believe once it stood up. I did not see it, but a gentleman working with me did. He stood it up. And then once he stood it up, he came in and he said, you know, there's a face of an elephant in this rock. And the reason I bring this story up is to tell you this. When I came in here, I had no idea what this was, but you'll understand what I'm going to say. When I walked back down and looked at this rock and I saw the elephant in the rock, and you can see it, and once you see it, you can't not see it. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Okay. And that's where what I do at Hatcher is different than what was done before I got there. And Mr. Hatcher, I think, fell in that realm. And then you have my wife and I call corporate that comes in and kind of runs things. And then, and Peter said tonight here, finally, and I've had somebody come in, finally we have a gardener running the garden, and that's what I am. So for 9 years I was garden manager, and for 4 months I've officially been the executive director at Hatcher Gardens, so my role changed a little bit. So I want to take a visual journey because this is a spiritual thing, and the garden is a spiritual place. And one of the reasons that it's different than any other garden you would go to is because it's led by somebody who's different than anybody else that you'll ever meet. One story I'll share with you, if you come in a garden, and many of you have seen the wall that has the stone in it that has the curling brick, and I call that a wave wall. And I've been wanting to build a wave wall, and in my landscape business, I kept waiting on that person that would pay me to do that, and it never came up. And then I was at the garden for 8 years, and then finally there was an opportunity to build it, and I just started to build it. I didn't really get permission to do it, but I started building it, and I wanted it to look like a wave crashing into a shore. And I started studying the spirits of a wave, and they're not simple. A wave is not a simple thing, so I just couldn't pull it off. And even Kristen said to me, "You're just afraid to start this." And I said, "I really don't know how it's going to turn out." And so then I just started building it, and then it started to look like a flower. And I said, "I'm okay with that." But then a little girl about your age walked up, and she goes, "Mr. Dan." And I said, I was just cleaning it off. I was finishing up the mortar and scraping it and getting it ready. And we had landscaped around it. And she said, "It looks like the wind." And so immediately I told her that, and she was with her mom, I said, "You will influence the landscaping that goes behind this wall." And we planted grasses, because what better represents the wind than tall grasses? This is how Hatcher Garden is built. There's no other garden that I can think of that's built that way. And so then I want to take you on a spiritual journey, because one of the things that we're talking about at the garden right now, we have new leadership that's very different than the old leadership. And I remember Alice Hatcher Henderson telling me that the board is not our kind of people. And if you knew Alice Hatcher Henderson, I remember looking at her and going, "What kind of people are we, Alice?" I wasn't sure where because this is like the first time I met her, and she said it was hot chocolate on her shirt, but I'm not sure that that's what it was. So anyway, that spirit is very alive at Hatcher, and even, Chris and I are very much followers of signs, and we came out of the office the other day, and this hawk flies right over our head and across the parking lot, similar to the Hal experience. And hawks are messengers. They're bringing a message. We're going in the right direction. And so we're watching these signs. So I want to take a little spiritual journey. And so this is a group that could do this. I could walk into Denny's over here and they'd all look at me like I was crazy, but here we go. So I want you to imagine that you're a mature tree in the middle of a grass field. And you're there by yourself, and there's nothing around but grass. It's all you see. So your world is grass. And you're there for several years, and that's your world. You're happy with it. Occasionally you get a breeze, occasionally you get rain, but that's your world, it's grass. And then one day a little tree germinates next to you, and you now have a small tree next to you. So you decide to teach this small tree that the world is grass. So you tell it all about it because you can see above its head, but it's still grass. You're sharing all this information. Time goes on, that tree grows up a little bit older, gets maybe the age of the young people that are here, and it's still the world is grass, but then you discover you have another ability. You have an ability to move. As a mature tree, you've discovered, like I've discovered tonight, that there's a whole nother realm of Spartanburg community I didn't know about. I've learned to move, so you learn to move. So this is good. So you get up the next morning, instead of teaching from this side, you walk around and you teach from this side. But guess what? The world is still grass. And you do that for a while, and then you get thinking, I wonder if I just went that way a little ways. So you go that way a little ways, and all of a sudden now the world's not grass. There are other things happening. There's large bodies of water. There's strange animals. There's mountains. There's snow. There's all these things that you didn't know about because you walked. So you're gone for a while. Your tree's still growing. It becomes a teenager, begins to rebel. You come back into the field, to this field that is grass, and you have a glow in your eyes. You have something you've learned. And so you come, and the next morning you get up and you start talking about the world's not just grass. Now it's all these other things. And you're transmitting this message every day. And this is where I am at the garden when I sit around a boardroom table. I'm trying to transmit a spirit of a garden that corporates don't understand. They don't see it. So you're talking about this, and then this is the moment that I'm in my time in the garden, is how do I transfer that message of the world is not grass to people who the world is grass? So I go to bed and I pray, and I get up the next morning, and I come in, and this is what's happening on our board right now. So I'm telling you a story that reflects where we are at your gardens. We're not going to talk about the world as grass today. We're not going to talk about the world as mountains or funny tasting water or ice or any of those things. We're going to talk about how to walk, how to move. I'm going to teach you how to move so you can go and discover the world on your own. Now, this is what sets Hatcher apart. You go to any other garden and you can see that everything's laid out there. But what we do is we lay things out seductively that you discover. One of the best things that we've done recently is put in our sand garden. If you haven't seen it at the top of the hill, you got to walk by Peter's tree and you got to come on up the hill, and there's a sand garden half the size, well, a third the size of this room. I did not realize that unstructured play in the sandbox was so badly needed in Spartanburg County. But it is, and it is constantly occupied. And yesterday I would say that in the time I was there were 100 children that played in this sandbox, 100. And there's nowhere else in the garden where 100 children congregate but this area. And there's toys showing up, and there's toys buried, and there's a little girl came to me, said she lost her Barbie doll. It's buried somewhere in the sand, and we'll find it one day. So these are the things that are happening. But here's what I tell the parents when they come. Don't interrupt them. Let them play. And here's an example of how you teach people to walk. Yesterday, we had celebrated a birthday party there for one of my grandchildren. And one of the guests comes with two of her children, and there's all these kids starting to come in. And the first words out of her mouth when she got there was, "Don't get dirty." And I went, why are we even here if we're not going to get dirty? And I remember turning and looking, not worried about hurting somebody's feelings, saying, you do whatever you want to do in this sand. And within minutes, before long, the shoes and socks were off, and the bare feet were in the sand. Now, this is what I talk about when I say teach people to walk. And I'll close with this. Number one reason, do you know why the number one reason why people don't go outside right now? They're afraid. Makes sense. Something's going to sting me because people die every day from insect bites. Something's going to get me, and so just teaching people to not be afraid, talk about being aware. And I'll leave with this message. I remember one of the ways that I wake up the second grade or third grade teachers, if they've kind of taken me off the children's tour thing because I create too much problem, but is if I want to get a reaction out of the teachers, I'll look at a group of second graders in the back of the garden near the activities deck, and I'll say, okay, kids, go over and turn those logs over and let's see what jumps out. And the kids go, yes, and the teachers go, no. And it's so hysterical because up until then, the teachers are dozing off, and so I wake them up. But then I turn to the teachers and I say, look, let's be aware. Don't stick your face down there. Roll it back and look. And then here come the big black beetles, and here come the centipedes, and here come the termites, and here come the... And I haven't had anybody snagged by a monster and pulled under the log and lost, at least in the last 2 or 3 weeks we haven't had that. But that's how I learned it. My mother locked me out of the house at that age, said, I'll call you for peanut butter and jelly in 3 hours. Don't bother me, I'm cleaning. And that was the way I learned. And we've got kids now who are growing up with no outdoor memories. And that's sad because we all have them. So that's why I think my job's important, and that's why I think Hatcher Garden's important. And I do appreciate what Mr. Hatcher has left us because it is a unique place. And all I'm trying to do in my season there is not mess it up. And I appreciate y'all inviting me to be here, and I see all these faces that do come to the garden. I love you, and I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you inviting me this evening.
Just like everything else in our lives, Hatcher Garden changes. So you have to go more than every now and then. You have to go religiously just to see the beauty and what the changes are. Thank you so, so much, Dan. Our offering this evening, a portion of it has been designated for Hatcher Gardens, thanking Dan for sharing his creative energy with us. We're going to pass the offering stars around. I believe Deborah and Donna are going to do that. Al is going to play a little music for us, background-wise, during the offertory. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll do this first. We'll do this first. My apologies. My apologies. I'm a little ahead of the game here. We'll go ahead and collect our offering. And I have one announcement as it's going around. The Heatherly's car is stuck out here in the driveway, in the parking lot. It sort of is blocking in one car, but not really if they're careful about pulling out. So just watch it, and it won't go forward, it won't go backward, it's stuck. So as we're sending these offering stars around, perhaps we can offer a little prayer of ignition for their car, and Al is going to play for us. Thank you. Each of you has a prayer card in your service sheet. This is the time when we will be creating our own prayer catcher. Everyone is invited to write a prayer card and then bring it to the bowl on the altar and place it in the bowl, leaving it there. And as we're contemplating our prayer, Al is going to play for us. And when we have completed filling the bowl with our prayers, we will honor the directions. Al?
In sharing this prayer, may we be aware of the divine energy of the universe, called by many names: Great Spirit, Heavenly Father, God, Wakantanka, Jehovah, Allah, the Ascendant, all that is, or whatever name we call this creative force. Allowing ourselves to feel the presence of this energy within us. We offer our prayers to the Creator, the never-ending force that is all. All together, Creator, hear our prayers. And now if you will face east, we place our prayers on the wings of the Spirit of the East, where the sun rises, the place of new beginnings and the promise of spring. All together, carry our prayers. A quarter turn to the right, facing south. We place our prayers on the wings of the Spirit of the South, the place of summer and rapid growth, the place of our heart and emotions, the place where we learn survival and develop a trust in life. All together, carry our prayers. Quarter turn to the right, facing west. We place our prayers on the wings of the Spirit of the West, the place where the sun sets, the place where we find healing and self-knowledge, giving energy to both our heads and our hearts to serve and teach. All together, carry our prayers. Quarter turn to the right, facing north. We place our prayers on the wings of the Spirit of the North, where we find intuitive understanding of healing and the place of beginnings and endings. All together, carry our prayers. And facing center, we look around this circle and see a place like Mother Earth, a place filled with nurturing and hope. In this time and in this place, we offer our prayers to the Creator, the never-ending force that is all. All together, Creator, accept our prayers. Namaste.
As we placed our prayers in the bowl, we, in our own way, have created a prayer catcher. The netting that surrounds the bowl acts as the ingredient to catch all of those things that we do not want to go out into the world. Just the opposite of a regular prayer catcher. But this evening, as we end our time together and begin our time of refreshments and visiting with one another and speaking with Dan and Kristen and welcoming them to our circle, we take just a few moments to pass around the bowl. And if each of you would take a prayer out of the bowl, not your own, hopefully, and in our way, from now until whenever, offer that prayer each and every day. Or if you're like me, I have my prayers on the flap that comes down the sun visor. And every time I pull it down, I say that prayer. I'm sure you can find a place, a bathroom mirror, kitchen wall, a bulletin board. Every time you pass, offer that prayer. Your energy is sending the prayer of someone else out into the world. And that's how we heal, That's how we love, and that's how we are transformed. And as I bring the bowl around, I'm going to ask Al, I believe he's going to play some background music for us. Read your prayer, absorb it, let it sink in, and then don't forget it. Take it out into the world. as we have spent some time in silence, in writing our thoughts, our prayers, we now will take these prayers on behalf of another out into the world, and all together we have become one with the heartbeat of God. Ending our time together this evening, we offer a benediction and a sending out. In caring for all of us in creation, amazing Creator, we have shared our prayers and now carry them with us into the world, all together. May the grace of the love of the stars be ours. May the grace of the love of the winds be ours. May the grace of the love of waters be ours. In the name of the word of all life, flow through us healing, merciful, peaceful, loving, and gracious God. Amen. And now, Sandy and Emily are preparing our snacks for us. We welcome Dan and Kristen. Thank you all so much. Hope to see you Thursday here and again on the 26th. Is that what we're doing? Yes, the 23rd. Wanda, hold your hand up, Wanda. Wanda will be doing our salad Sunday with a book. And if you're having any difficulty getting it or have any questions, Wanda will love to answer it. If you don't have a chance to read the book, if you don't have a chance to bring a salad, come on anyway. Our circle is just never complete when there's one vacant space. Amen.